Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow marks the 90th anniversary of when the guns fell silent at the 11th hour on the 11th day of the 11th month, 1918, thus ending World War I. Observance of that special day began in 1919 to honor the veterans of the Great War. In 1954, the name was changed to Veterans Day to honor those that had served our military in all wars at all times. Before continuing, I would like for those veterans present to please raise your hand. I see one in the back there. And I'd like for anybody that's had a veteran in their family to raise their hand. Thank you for your service and the service of your loved one to our country. Today we're honoring the memory of my friend and classmate, Captain Joe Eubanks, who was killed in action at the Battle of Kon Tum, Republic of Vietnam, on the 2nd of June, 1972. Joe is representative of the hundreds of thousands of men and women who have given their lives, who have made the supreme sacrifice in the service of our country. Joe is a local boy. He graduated from Concord High School in 1965 and entered the Citadel that fall. Joe majored in history, and we had many classes together. After graduation, Joe was a much more dedicated soldier than I was, and he went to Airborne and Ranger School before becoming a helicopter pilot. And he went to Vietnam in 1971. Because he was only 1 week away from rotating out of the country, Joe had been taken off missions. But when that terrible battle began in the Central Highlands of South Vietnam on that fateful day, Americans were in trouble, and Joe volunteered to fly a rescue mission. Joe flew his Huey helicopter through severe anti-aircraft fire to rescue some American advisors. Later that afternoon, Joe flew a second mission through intense fire to rescue more American advisors. The call went out a third time, and in keeping with the military's credo of leave no man behind, Joe stepped forward. But by this time, the fire was murderous, and Joe was mortally wounded. Joe is buried in Oakwood Cemetery here in Concord, in his family plot. Joe had been an adopted child. His parents had lost their only child, a daughter, Elizabeth, at birth in 1938. And Joe's adopted parents were fairly old when they adopted him in the late 1940s. And they really treated Joe more like a grandchild than a son, and they doted on him. Those of us that have grandchildren and those of you who have living grandparents know the special bond that exists between grandparents and grandchildren. Joe's parents took his death very hard. And although they lived for another 20 years after his death, they shut down and became reclusive. To me, their loss underscores the need for us to pray for and support the families of our service members. It is the families who suffer most in war. I know I only became aware 5 years ago of what my wife went through when I was in Vietnam. In combat, a soldier has a mission. A soldier has a surrogate family, a band of brothers there. At home, there's an empty table, a seat at the table, and that gnawing uncertainty about the safety of a loved one. You'll have to bear with me. It's a little difficult to talk about these men, particularly as I get older. I therefore urge you to support the families of those who have a member serving our country abroad. I think about Joe and my other fallen comrades every day. And I mourn his loss as I mourn the losses of our services in Iraq and Afghanistan. But I also give praise and thanks for his good and faithful service and that of our servicemen and women today. Joe Eubanks was an ordinary guy that used the talents that God gave him to do extraordinary things in the service of our country. And I challenge those of us here today to do likewise. Several years ago, in a moment of weakness, the county agreed to allow me to teach military history as an elective. And earlier this year, a classmate who was in the same company with Joe at the Citadel donated $500 to purchase a plaque honoring Joe and the recipients of the Military History Award, and to purchase military history books for the Media Center. On behalf of the Citadel's class of 1969, I would ask Ms. Lynda Cloninger to step forward and accept this book as the official inauguration of the Joe Eubanks Military History Award and Military History Collection.
Thank you, Colonel Olson. I'd like to accept this book as the official inauguration of our special collection in the Media Center that will honor or will house the Military History Award, and it will be the beginning of our collection. I didn't know until today that Captain Eubanks was a local person, so I learned something today. Already, students have been asking for me to pull the books out of the case, so shortly we will be taking it down and moving it to another area in our Media Center where students can check these out. So already I'm seeing that these books are going to be a good addition to the Media Center, and I'm sure they will continue to be. And we're very proud to honor and assisting the remembrance of Captain Eubanks today. And we appreciate very much the contribution to our school, and I know we're going to enjoy using it. So thank you, Colonel.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this completes the dedication. I thank you for participating. I particularly am thankful of these fine young Americans in the junior ROTC program that lent a special dignity to this dedication ceremony. Tomorrow, as you observe Veterans Day, I urge you to seek out and thank veterans and their families for their service to our country. God bless the United States of America.